Welcome back into the live desk. I am Janae Hancock, and I'm actually joined by Dr. Matt Harris with Park University. He is a political science professor. We are getting some new developments here at the live desk. I do want to at Twitter now. You should see that tweet coming in from the Casey tenants. They just tweeted this out saying Casey tenants and Jackson County voters shut down the stadium sales tax. They go on to say that the largest transfer of public funds to private enterprises in our region's history, $2 billion over 40 years. The people took on the billionaires and the people won. Nothing is inevitable if we organize. Again, that is coming in from the Casey tenants, but I do want to give you a look at the numbers so far because we are seeing numbers start to roll in as the polls closed at 7 p.m. You should be able to see that update here on your screen now. So nothing is official just yet. Is that right, Dr. Harris? You can see 58% of the vote is no and 41% of the vote is yes. But like I said, this is all still unofficial. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it looks like we got 20% of precincts reporting. So
Right.
there's still a lot of numbers to come in, but I think what I would say is, and speaking to that tweet from Casey Tenants, all the numbers that we've seen so far have been fairly heavily no. We've seen from Eastern, we've seen some numbers coming in from KC Mo, and nothing we've seen so far has changed that trend of about 60-40 no.
Right. And so they are on the other side of the aisle. They're on the Vote Yes campaign. And so we talked to KCTV5's, or they're on the Vote No campaign, we talked to KCTV5's Chandler Watkins, who was at their watch party tonight. But I do want to turn things over to KCTV5's Ryan Hennessy, who is at the other side of the aisle, and he is following the Vote Yes campaign. I know you've been there all night long, but Ryan, how are things looking there right now?
Yeah, so things are still pretty optimistic around here. I don't know if a lot of people have actually seen the numbers, which you guys just mentioned, because a little bit concerning there, I have to say, because it just doesn't look like the yes votes are catching up to those no votes. But at this party, we're at the J. Rigger Distillery located in the East Bottoms. It's a who's who here from the yes campaign. John Sherman, obviously majority owner of the Royals. Brooke Sherman, no relation there, but he's the Royals business president. Also, I saw Mark Donovan, that's the president for the Chiefs here. Haven't seen Clark Hunt, but this is, and obviously the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, he was a recent addition to the yes, saying that he is supporting this stadium sales tax extension. He's here, say Manuel Barca, as well as Sean Smith, both of those are Jackson County legislators. This is it's a pretty packed house here as we look around, and I'm telling you, the mood in here, Kenny Price and I, photographer out here from KST5, we're trying to identify what it feels like, kind of nonchalant. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's almost like everybody's like, well, it's going to pass. I think there's still, the feeling in this atmosphere around here is that there's enough time for the yes vote to catch up, and this is going to be similar to what they were kind of seeing, back in '67 when this vote originally took place. It was a pretty close one. These independence precincts weren't popular back then. They're not popular now. Just independents for whatever reason is not want to support this. Maybe it's because they see Kauffman Stadium going much further away from where they're located, and that's going to obviously add to their commute to the games and stuff. Maybe losing some money there is a concern for those independence precincts. But definitely right around here, Janae, it is still, I'd say, optimistic. They are bringing out the podium right now. They're getting set up because they are going to be talking about either if it's a yes or no. The campaign out here is going to issue a statement and talk about what this means, possibly next steps forward with whatever that result is.
And Ryan, I'm sorry. I want you to give us a better look at the room. If you guys can kind of turn the camera around, giving us a better look at maybe who's there. I know you touched on a few names, but I know it's looking packed behind you. And I think it's pretty interesting that they are pretty optimistic. What do you think about that, Dr. Harris, as they kind of pan around the room and show us how things are looking there?
Well, yeah, it is still relatively early, and certainly there are, we do see trends in elections in terms of sometimes votes come in early that might swing one way depending on where they're coming from, or in this case, coming from a lot of those votes coming from Eastern Jackson County. And maybe, some of those early votes may be different from votes that have come in on election day itself.
Right.
And so, yeah, there are trends that can change as the night goes on. And so perhaps that's a reason for optimism on the
Right.
yes side. Of course, the other reason for optimism, if you're somebody like John Sherman, is you will still be a billionaire
Right.
regardless of what happens tonight.
Yeah. And I bring that to our attention mainly because when I spoke to Chandler Watkins, who is at the other watch party, people who are urging people to vote no, wanted people to vote no, she said there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear and concerns because they're not sure how the night is going to turn out. But this is a completely different watch party here, so we'll just have to keep a close eye on it. But Ryan, if you want to kind of step back into the frame so we can talk to you one last time before we let you go. If you can just kind of keep us posted on that announcement, if we do end up hearing from officials, have you heard or actually talked to Mayor Quentin Lucas or any other officials just about their thoughts if this does not pass tonight?
Sure, yeah. Talked to a few people, talked to the Jackson County Sports Authority, spoke to Brooke Sherman briefly, talked to John Sherman. They don't want to really give too many comments on the record right now. They're still trying to kind of figure out what's going to happen. But they are setting up this stage right now. I did get to talk to one of the union representatives, and obviously AFL-CIO and the other local union here coming to support this. I asked them kind of how many votes they thought that would actually translate to. Couldn't give me a direct number, but they said that they did tell them get out, told all the people that are associated with that union to get out and vote. And that could be a pretty powerful vote, honestly. And as we look at the numbers right now, 62% reporting, it is still about 9,000. Yes, it's about 9,000 difference between yes and no right now, as we're seeing the more votes come in, but 62% still no. So it's a big number that they still have to catch up. That's 9,000 votes they at least have to catch up to, and hopefully get no more no votes with that to get the thing to pass.
Definitely for that watch party there. Well, Ryan, I am going to let you go as your coverage continues, but we will be hearing from you much later on this evening. Hopefully we'll get some solidified numbers here in a bit. So thank you so much, Ryan. I do want to turn things back over to our live desk here. We are currently joined by Dr. Matt Harris with Park University. If you are just now joining us, what are your thoughts right now before we kind of move on? How are you feeling right now in this moment?
Yeah, I mean, so I think what's interesting is from the time we first did a live shot maybe 50 minutes ago, it was very close and very early. It's still relatively early, but we're seeing a pretty consistent stream on the no side, and we're seeing it relatively steady regardless of the places that it's coming in from. And so I think I don't know if it may be a little too early to declare victory for the no side as Casey Tennants did, but certainly I think the trend is looking good for the no side.
For sure. I do want to give our viewers a better look at those numbers, what we know so far. You should be able to see that here on your screen now. 50% reporting, 58% no, 41% yes. And again, we are keeping a close eye on these numbers. Nothing has been confirmed just yet. But as you can see, 50% reporting on that Jackson County Stadium question. Dr. Harris, I want to touch on something that we didn't touch on the last time on our live stream. But as far as the CBA agreement, I know that was just released not too long ago. And they released that agreement, and as far as together they would invest $260 million into the community over the next 4 years. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a standard thing as new stadiums are built in the past decade or so. We've seen it in Milwaukee with the new arena there. We've seen it in Buffalo, New York with the new stadium for the Bills. And I think there are questions outstanding about that. First of all, still has to be approved by the Jackson County Legislature.
Right.
Secondly, I think there are questions about does it go far enough? Certainly there are some pieces about minority women-owned businesses when it comes to the construction of the stadium. But then, are there pieces or does it go far enough in terms of those businesses when it comes to the operation of the stadium itself? And there's also the question of how legally enforceable is this agreement, and is it sort of a just trust us sort of statement by the Chiefs and Royals? And so I think the CBA kind of plays into a lot of the discussion that has surrounded the stadiums in terms of, how much of this is solidified, how many solid details do we have, and how much of this is just sort of a just trust us past this and we'll figure it out later. And I think the community benefits agreement plays into some of those same concerns that community groups have expressed.
Yeah, and again, it's all literally just a waiting game. And speaking of a waiting game, I do want to take another look at that live shot. The watch party where we just talked to Ryan, you can see they have a stadium all ready to go for an announcement here in the coming minutes, maybe in the coming hours. But whether this vote passes or it fails, we will be hearing from officials, and you can see that is a live shot coming in from the East Bottoms tonight, where we just spoke to KCTV5's Ryan Hennessy. I do want to take a look at the graphics once again, the numbers that are coming in, because this is not the only election that we are following here at KCTV5. This is 100% reporting as far as Platte City Mayor. There are several mayoral elections tonight as well as aldermen and city councilmen. So I do want to take a look at this. It looks like Stephen Holger, 60% of the vote. This is 100% so far. We just received this number, but we are following several other elections, like I said. So we have the Blue Springs mayor election, Green Valley mayor, and Smithville mayor. So the list goes on and on, but all eyes have been on this election. What you see here on your screen, that live shot coming in from the East Bottoms, and it actually looks like they are getting ready to speak and make an announcement. So let's see if we can tune in and hear what they're saying.
I know that you probably all followed the vote up to this point, and unfortunately it did not turn out the way that we had hoped or wanted. That's unfortunate, but we do want to make sure that you understand how much we appreciate everybody in this room who worked hard on behalf of this campaign and keeping the Royals and the Chiefs in Jackson County. We had help from every sector. We had help from labor. We had help from freedom. We had help from the Latino community. We had help in the black community, white community, and everybody else. It simply wasn't enough to get it through, and that's unfortunate. But without burdening that issue too much, I would like to give an opportunity to John Sherman to say a few words, and then followed by Mark Donovan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being in the fight with us. This was a valiant effort. We won a baseball game tonight, but we didn't win this. We respect the democratic process. We respect the voters of Jackson County and the results of the election today. We're deeply disappointed, as we are steadfast in our belief that Jackson County is far better off with the Chiefs and the Royals. This is a belief that I hold both professionally and personally, as someone whose roots run deep in this town, as someone who has been a dedicated fan, a season ticket holder for both of these teams, and now leading a remarkable ownership group assembled for its ties to Kansas City. We thank all those who worked on this election for their time and commitment. They are here in this room and well beyond. They know who they are. We will take some time to reflect on and process the outcome and find a path forward that works for the Royals and our fans. Thank you.
First and foremost, we've been talking a lot about the democratic process. We respect the process. We respect the decision of the Jackson County voters today. We're disappointed. We feel we put forth the best offer for Jackson County, and we were ready to extend the long-standing partnership that the teams have enjoyed with this county. This is important. We want to thank everyone that worked tirelessly on our behalf. We truly appreciate all the effort, all the time, and all the work that you all put in. We will do and we'll look to do what is in the best interest of our fans and our organization as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much for coming. Have a great evening. Finish eating all the food and drinking all the booze. Be safe getting home tonight. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so you just heard from officials there. Dr. Harris, let's just start off. How do you feel? What are your reactions to what they just said? I do want to, before you even give that, just touch on what former Mayor Sly James said at the beginning of that speech. And he said this simply wasn't enough to get it through. And they said that they're disappointed that this did not pass. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, they made me look pretty bad because we were just talking about how it's still kind of early, and then we immediately cut to them conceding. But yeah, I mean, I think what was interesting there is maybe what we didn't get. They said I think it was John Sherman said they're going to take some time, process the results, and then sort of consider next steps. So any sort of hint as to what comes after this, what if they're going to look at other counties, either in the Northland across the state line. Yeah. We didn't really hear anything with regard to that. One thing that did strike me as interesting is John Sherman did say something about, and I'm paraphrasing here, finding a path forward that works for the Royals and their fans, which to me would seem to indicate that perhaps there's some other maneuvering to be done locally and trying to find a way forward locally as opposed to looking at the Nashville Royals or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, you touch on a good point there, finding out the next steps. And I have to imagine that though Ryan Hennessy, and I think we all kind of saw it there in that live shot before they approached the stadium, is that everyone seemed so optimistic. They seemed in such a great mood that they had a plan if this failed, in which it did. So I'm sure that now they're going to go back to the drawing board, like Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas said earlier today, that either way, Kansas City will be fine regardless of how things turned out. And unfortunately, that is, for them, the result that we are seeing tonight. But again, do you maybe have an idea of how this may pan out in the next few days, the next steps that they might take?
I don't know about the next few days, but I think if you look at the way things were going initially with the Royal Stadium, and North Kansas City had its hat in the ring, and so I think that it's probably something along the lines of the next steps would be looking at other, maybe they try to bring this back and put it on the ballot again with maybe more details, a firmer plan, a community benefits agreement that the community has more time to look over and that is maybe more firm and enforceable. So maybe that's a step. Maybe they look across the state line, try to move to Kansas like Sporting did a few years back. So I think there are a few different potential directions, but I think we'll probably learn more about that in the days, weeks, months to come.
Okay, awesome. So we are currently trying to get KCTV5 Chandler Watkins back up and running. She is at the other watch party, the campaign for the people who voted no. So we are trying to learn more from her here in a bit. It looks like she is trying to get her shot up. So once she does, we will turn directly to Chandler Watkins. But I do want to, she's in the Crossroads area, by the way, turning back to this tweet from the KC tenants, because we're taking a look at this tweet right before they approached the stadium, and they saw, as you can see here on your screen, they said at the beginning, KC tenants and Jackson County voters shut down the stadium sales tax, and we were saying, it's way too early to kind of call this out, and it looks like they were right. So those officials taking to the podium again, letting them know that they are disappointed, but it doesn't look like the efforts will stop here. So we are still waiting to hear from our reporters. I do want to give you another look at those numbers. The number has changed as reporting. You can see that here on your screen. I think the last time we looked, Dr. Harris, it was sitting at 50% reporting when we were talking to Ryan. Yeah, so now you can see that here, 90% Jackson County Stadium question, 57% no, and 42% yes, and it was a large voter turnout from what it seems so far right now.
Absolutely, yeah. This seems like pretty high turnout for a local April election.
Right. Okay. Let's see if we can get Chandler up and running. Let's see. It looks like we have not, but I am going to pause this live stream and we will hop right back on here at the live desk once we get a live shot coming in from the Crossroads area and their reaction now that this vote did not pass.